Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. I want to say bienvenidos to all you listeners in Latin America, also across the pond in London, England, as well as Paris, France. Of course, you good old boys in Canada. You know we love you in Africa, the Big C tribe, but there's no one we love more than the good old boys down south in the land of the free and the home of the brave on the beautiful November 30, 2018. Big C, this is Wolfman Jack. How you doing, Big C?
Jonathan, I'm mesmerized because I'm trying to figure out who the hell is on the other end of the line, that I'm talking to.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've been kidnapped or you're just trying to disguise who you are.
Yeah. Hey, I know that POTUS has been chopping into the Big C Sports line. Also Putin, so I'm trying to act like I'm Michael Cohen. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, he'll say that you're lying if you start talking.
Yeah,
he's going to say you're a weak man and all these other things. But, this is an exciting weekend, Charlton, when we're looking at what's ahead of us this week.
Yep.
We got some people that's going to be completely eliminated from the playoffs in the NFL. We got college football playoffs actually starting this weekend. It's not going to be later on, Charlton. It actually starts this weekend because this is the elimination weekend for teams that are not going to be playing on in that four-game carousel after this weekend, Charlton.
And for all the people, I do want to say today's segment sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you. I'm doing this show. I'm doing the best I can to be Wolfman Jack. When I was a little boy, I remember listening to Wolfman Jack, Big C. He came on AM radio. I would stay up to the middle of the night so I could hear the Wolfman go, whoa. Okay, his wolf was better than mine, Big C. But I tell you, I said I'm going to honor Wolfman Jack because, sometimes we get into business and we think that we do something on our own. But every now and then you realize there's somebody that opened the door for us. Even if it's just the imagination that you can be something. I had a Big C Sports show when I was a little boy. I was about 5 years old, but I was listening to Wolfman Jack. I pretended it was me, Big C. So I tried to talk like the Wolfman. I tried to act like the Wolfman. My mom also said, be careful who you emulate, you might become him. So I'm trying to make sure that I put on my best Wolfman Jack for this show. And then in honor of that, then I'll be back to the regular Big C Sports show on Monday. But I want to say, of so many things that I'm grateful for, I really love having the chance to talk with you, Big C, to do the Big C Sports Show with you, and talk about all the things that we think are important in the universe, Big C. And going back to Wolfman Jack, who got me in the business when I was a little boy, and I used to pick up this fake microphone. It was a shoe, Big C. It was a dirty old shoe, but in my mind it was a microphone, and I tried to make my voice sound like Wolfman Jack. And today, at the end of November, I want to just be honest to say there are things that in life that we all appreciate for, whether it's God, having prayer, having family and friends, but sometimes we pay attention to people in our brethren that inspired us. So I said I'm going to do today's whole show as long as I can hold out, Big C, to sound like Wolfman Jack. I wonder if he was trying to sound like maybe Daddy Jack, Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, you think about legendary broadcasters when you're growing up. I always, on the weekend, one of my favorite programs that I always watched was Soul Train.
Yep.
With the late Don Cornelius, Charlton. He was always so smooth. I mean, he reminded you of a guy sitting at a cigar bar with a glass of scotch in one hand and a cigar in the other because just his mannerism and how charismatic that he was, Charlton. And how evidently the words flowed off of his tongue when he was talking to and interviewing the artist that was on the show, and when he had the Soul Train, word puzzle up there, Charlton. He was just a magnetic man. When you think about the opportunity or limited opportunity that the African Americans had on television during that time.
Oh, yeah.
And that Soul Train was the show that everybody looked forward to. I mean, everybody grew up with American Bandstand and Dick Clark. But it had that vanilla rapping over it, Charlton.
Yep.
But then when Soul Train came along and you saw a representation of yourself on television and the music that you were listening to on the radio and on your 45s that you had at home with the little spindle inside of them and stuff.
Yep.
We didn't have CDs and 8-tracks, Charlton. We had the little 45s that we carried around.
Yep.
But we saw the artists that we endured all the time, every weekend on Soul Train. You got a chance to see them live. You got a chance to see that Soul Train live. You saw people that looked like you wearing the bell bottoms you had and the big puffy afro that you had.
Yeah.
But Don Cornelius, to me, personified what it was with magnetism and professionalism on the air, Charlton, because he didn't get riled. He had just that even kilter all the time. You would have thought he was a news broadcaster.
Oh, yeah.
But he was introducing the most famous African-American artist of the day, Charlton.
I think about Bob Johnson also. Like, he started BET, Black Entertainment Television. I thought the only thing that Bob missed was he did not add a sports program to the BET television network. It was for entertainment. A lot of people got opportunities there that could not get on the mainstream. I go back to Wolfman Jack. It doesn't matter what color you are. I get more people now telling me, hey, they call me C. I said, my name's Charlton. Well, they think I said that Big C, he's the little boy down south. But just thinking about how we can influence young people. And that's important, Big C, because that's why it's so important, whether it's the Everett R. Morrill Award or it's an award for just being excellent at what you do. I love acknowledging people who are great at what they do. I remember back in 1998, I was winner of a Bay Area Broadcast Excellence Award. That's competed against all the Bay Area broadcasters in San Francisco, the number 4 media market. And it's voted on by your media brethren. And it's voted on for your accuracy and honesty in sports. That's 20 years ago. Big C, I actually, when I heard you first do broadcast back in the day, I thought you were so honest. Now everybody's trying to kiss the butt of the athlete, and they usurp the integrity of the game. If you're honest, like Wolfman Jack, just give the best facts that you can, and that's something I'm proud of, Big C. I will always admire that. And again, Wolfman Jack got me into this business because I wanted to sound like him, not for my whole life, but just for a show, Big C.
Well, Charlton, I think so many broadcasters now, it's about them.
Yeah.
How good do I look? Am I playing a role good enough for people to be gravitating to me? When you look at sporting events, Charlton, they actually speak for themselves.
Yep.
And the greatest way to enjoy a sporting event is not on television, other than the visual of it. If you ever want to understand what it's like to listen to a sporting event, turn on the television.
Yeah.
And pick up your radio. Dial in to that local broadcast, Charlton, if you can get it.
Yep.
Today I was talking with Ian Gold. Ian Gold is the play-by-play announcer of the Alabama Crimson Tide, Charlton.
Yeah.
Been there for a long, long time. Has seen all the great athletes, Charlton. Have dealt with the national championships ever since 1992.
Yeah.
With the Crimson Tide. So he has a history with this program. And if you ever watch the CBS broadcast of an Alabama game, they will always go to Ian Gold at the end. Vern Lundquist was really big with Ian Gold.
Yeah.
He would always tell you, we're going to give you this play. We're going to give you the Alabama play-by-play announcer, Ian Gold. And this man is so knowledgeable. It's great to be around people, Charlton, who understand and appreciate a sport.
Yep.
And as long as he's been in Alabama and he's part of the Crimson Tide family, he's not just a fan, Charlton. He's a guy who takes serious, preparation about his craft.
Yes.
He's not sitting there patting the players on the back. He's calling the game. He's making sure that he is the eyes and the ears of the fans that are listening on the radio.
Yep.
Because so many of those fans in these southern states, Charlton, do that. The game will be on television, but they turn off the volume on the television and they turn on the local play-by-play guy, Charlton.
Yep.
Because they give an insight to the game that they make you feel like you're watching the game.
Yep.
They're not sitting there talking about a lot of, things that are irrelevant. They're explaining the nuances of the game, the motion of the offense, the adjustments of the defense.
Yep.
And to sit there and talk to him about how Alabama made the adjustments last year.
Yes.
Against Georgia in the national championship game, Charlton, and even how they've made the adjustments where they become a pass-first team from what they used to be a run-first team for a long time. And you and I had talked about that
on
our program. how they've changed and where they'll play all these receivers now instead of just one.
Yep.
But to sit down and talk with these guys, Charlton, they give you great insight, you know, and I'm always appreciative to be able to talk to somebody who has their thumb on the pulse
yes.
of what's going on in an organization.
That's very true. Just like Johnny Cash, they open doors. And I think about so many African-American men and women that were just as talented, maybe even more talented, but they never get that opportunity. So whenever you hear excellence, and something you always talk about, Big C, as a former athlete, you got better when the coaches were honest, because there's always a guy looking to take your job. And the coaches that made you get better, they were not kissing your butt. They were not telling you how great you were. They told you need to do this way, you need to do it my way, and you got to get better. And if you got an attitude, they got 5 guys that want your spot. They were not nice. They were tough but fair. And I think sometimes with the broadcast business, we do the same thing. I mean, people don't have to like our style, but they can't say we're not telling the truth. And that's more important. That's part of the Everett R. Morrill Award and the Bay Area Broadcast Excellence Award that I was able to get back in 20 years ago. So I love saying that, Big C. And I'm going to do the Wolfman Jack version of the Big C Sports Show for a happy Friday Night Lights. Happy Friday Night Lights all over the country. Number 1, we have Model Day Santa Ana. Number 2, St. John Bosco Bellflower. Number 3, IMG Academy out of Florida. Number 4 is St. Francis Academy out of Baltimore. Number 5 is St. Louis of Honolulu, Hawaii. That's where Tua went to school, down in Alabama, Big C. Number 6 is Colquitt County, Norman, Oklahoma. When I heard Colquitt County, I thought it was a parent saying, Cole, quit doing what you're doing. Quit messing with those rocks outside, Cole. Big C, your thoughts on Colquitt County?
Well, Charlton, you look around the country in high school level football, Charlton, where all these championships are culminating. There's so many tremendous athletes out there. And when you're in a region of the country, you don't often know what's going on elsewhere because you're so focused just in your own division, your own league, your own region of the country, because all these states have state champions that go on. And so many of these are being broadcast now on television, giving children the spotlight to be seen nationally or even regionally, Charlton.
Yep.
And, and I know growing up, we never had that exposure as young athletes. But, the talent level has gotten so good, and so many coaches have been with programs and developed them over the years, Charlton, that the exposure, and when we look on Saturday, when we watch these games on Saturday, Charlton, for these conference championships, you'll see so many of these kids that you're talking about from these Friday Night Lights that you pay homage to the top 10 teams of the country. All of them will be represented come Saturday.
That's very true, Big C. Number 7, Centennial, Corona, California. Number 8, Colleran, Cincinnati, Ohio. Number 9, De La Salle, Concord, California. And number 10, there's Christian Brothers out of St. Louis, Missouri. And number 9, Concord, De La Salle, Northern California. They have not lost a game since 1991. If they win tonight, that'll be 28 years in a row. 28 years in a row, actually 27 years in a row, that they have not lost a game, a championship game in the Bay Area. That's the number 4 media market in the world. That's Cal and Stanford territory, 49er and Raider territory. It's a very high operational football program there. But to go back that long, the last time they suffered a Bay Area championship game loss was 1991. I think that's the year that Dallas was rolling in the NFL, Big C. Could you imagine if the Dallas Cowboys had not lost a championship game since 1991, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, I don't know if Jerry Jones' heart could have taken that stuff. There would have been enough facelifts and Botox to go around. But you think about the stride for excellence, and that's what sports is all about, the stride for excellence. We're having these championship weekends in high school and college football this week, Charlton. All of these kids started training camp back in July, August, whenever it was real hot. And they all had a common goal, was to win their conference championship, Charlton, and then move on from that point to whatever lied ahead, as far as getting to the next level of competition. And so when you think about it, it doesn't make a difference whether it's high school, college, even Pop Warner. Everybody in a team sport has a common goal, and that's to strive to compete
Yep.
and to be the best.
Yeah.
And when you talk about that, 1991, it's been that long, Charles.
Yep.
you think about the next level of kids that come in each year.
Yeah.
Is that there's a level of excellence that has been set for them.
Yeah.
You don't want to be the one to destroy the legacy. Having pride. That when you walk into a locker room, you just don't come in there and say, well, I want to be on the team.
Yeah.
Is that I want to be better than the team that was here before.
Yeah.
You think about the pressure on young people to perform. It's internal. But when they look on the wall, when they're walking out of a locker room and they walk into a stadium and see all the banners and placards, Charlton, right there, that's the motivation, is that I want to be the next guy up.
Yep. It's always important, Big C. So as we look at Friday Night Lights, I wish everybody the best. Please don't drink and drive. Don't let your friends drink and drive. Don't do anything foolish. Like the great Wolfman Jack, look out for your fellow man. And we wish everybody success. I think the national champion will be crowned after next week. So everybody has a good chance to put their vote in there for who's going to be considered national champion on the high school level. Big C, I want to jump to the college level. Tonight on the West Coast, the Pac-12 championship. Wolfman Jack style, Big C. Levi Stadium, Santa Clara. We have the Washington Huskies, and they will play the Utah Utes. I remember Utah back in the day when Alex Smith was a quarterback at Utah, and I believe they went undefeated. And people were saying, well, is that a good program or is it just a good year? Well, I think they've been so good and consistent, but they do fly under the radar. And then you look at the Washington Huskies. They've been Pac-12 champions way back in the days when they had the great quarterbacks down there, and Warren Moon, and then Donnie James. So you have a lot of history in Washington, kind of the newcomer to the Pac-12 in Utah. Give me your thoughts, traditional-wise. What do it mean? The Husky Stadium hosts about 72,000. Utah hosts about 47,000. If they can win this championship, I think they can probably add on because they'll get more attention nationwide. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, the nationwide attention is one thing versus the local attention. You got to understand these programs have been in these regions and these markets for a long time. You talk about Husky Stadium.
Yeah.
They just remodeled that a couple years ago, Charlton.
Yeah.
You look at where Salt Lake City is. You got to look at the competition that they have. They have BYU. They got Utah State.
Yep.
There's several local colleges that are right there within those regions. At Washington, you got Washington State, Gonzaga,
exactly, yeah.
Eastern Washington, several schools up there in that area, Charlton. So they basically maxed out. But one of the things about West Coast football versus Southeast football, Charlton, is that it's not a religion. As great a programs as these have been over time, Urban Meyer started out at Utah. That's where he got his kickstart at.
That's right.
Prior to going to Florida.
Yeah.
So he built that program. There's been some excellent coaches that have come through there. But one of the things about that West Coast football is we've seen so often, Charlton, they have so many things that they can do,
yeah.
it seems like.
Yeah.
And they're all in major cities. When you look at the top programs on the West Coast, Washington, UCLA, USC, those have been programs that are in major cities,
yeah.
major metropolitan cities. When you look at the smaller cities, Charlton, if you look at the SEC, how big a town is Athens, Georgia? How big a town is Tuscaloosa, Alabama? When you look at those small cities, Charlton, those are college towns. They are driven by that sport.
Yeah.
People live for those sports. And so when we look at these championship games that are played on the West Coast, Charlton, and we know that they play quality football.
Yeah.
But when there's other activities that draw away from those games, this is the reason why the left coast out there doesn't get that national recognition.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to find a packed house. I mean, you look at Stanford. Here was a stadium back in the 80s, Charlton, and in the 70s that seated 80,000 people.
Yeah, held a Super Bowl
they
there.
They downsized that stadium, Charlton, took it down to a 50,000-seat stadium.
Yeah.
But you would never hear that in the southern region of the country, Charlton, that you're going to cut a stadium in half.
Yeah.
Because you wanted to make it look full. And when you have a 50,000-seat stadium, Charlton, and you can't fill it every game,
yep.
that becomes a problem on the national scale.
Yeah.
So when you look at the rankings and how far Washington State fell after losing to Washington,
yeah,
it wasn't just because they lost to Washington, Charlton, but you have a game at your home stadium that you can't even get 40,000 people into.
Yeah, that's true.
That's what they're looking at.
Yeah.
And so when we look at these championship games that are going to be played, I think Buffalo is playing Northern Illinois tonight, Charlton, and that game is always played up in Detroit in Ford Field.
Yeah.
They're lucky to get 15, 20,000 people in that game, Charlton.
Wow.
So a lot of these conference championships, I've always been reserved about them. You think about Alabama's playing Georgia. You got Clemson playing Pittsburgh.
Yep.
You got Ohio State playing Northwestern. And you got Oklahoma playing Texas. Those are the big four of this weekend. You think about it. You've gone through and you've had the best team in your conference all year long.
Yep.
And you can lose in this conference championship game, Charlton, and not make the playoffs.
Yeah.
You know, you think about growing up, and you talked about De La Salle, I believe, winning all these championships.
Yeah.
You know, there's a rites of passage to winning your conference championship, being the best team at the end of the regular season. Now you got to play one more game, Charlton. Say that team gets hot and has a bad record, and all of a sudden knock you off. That season is all for naught. You're no longer the conference champion.
Yeah. Just like Ohio State and Northwestern, same thing. One more thing I'll touch on, Wolfman Jack style, Big C. You mentioned Stanford University. They hosted the Super Bowl with the 49ers and the Dolphins, and then that was at Stanford Stadium. I mean, it was considered a great stadium for track and field, and they played football there too. Now they downsized it. Well, ironically, also the West Coast, Tempe, Arizona State, they've held several Super Bowls down there. They lowered the capacity of that stadium. It used to hold 72,000. Now it holds 56,000. This is a team that has won a Pac-10 championship at the time. Even competed for national championships back in the 70s. I forget the name of that coach. I think it was
Frank Kush. And as a matter of fact, they knocked off Nebraska.
Yeah.
I believe it was around 72, 73. Nebraska was the number 2 team ranked in the country.
Yep.
And they played Arizona State in the Fiesta Bowl. And Arizona State was an undefeated team, and they throttled them.
Yeah.
And they couldn't even win the national championship. Arizona State at that time was 11-0.
Yeah.
Nebraska was 10-1.
Yeah.
Because Oklahoma had won the Big 12 title.
Yes. Yeah.
And all of a sudden, well, the Big 8 title at that time. Nebraska goes to the Fiesta Bowl. They're beaten by Arizona State. They were quarterbacked by Danny White, who went on to be a quarterback for over a decade for the Dallas Cowboys.
Yep.
And they got no national recognition. I think they may have moved up to number 4 or 5 in the country, even though they were undefeated, Charlton. They got no recognition because they were one of those teams out in the West, and everybody said, well, nobody knows who they are.
Yeah, yep, that's true, and I think that's a shame that it happened, Big C. So we know that it's all about where people go, how many people are interested in the program. Oregon has added under their stadium, and they're a small market. So you're right, small markets tend to do better. Tonight, Buffalo 10-2 versus Northern Illinois 7-5 in Detroit. 7 o'clock kickoff, ESPN2. Buffalo's favored by 3.5. Khalil Mack's alma mater, Big C. And then number 11, Washington 9-3 versus number 17, Utah 9-3 in Santa Clara. 8 o'clock kickoff on Fox. And the Huskies are favored by 5. I think tonight's crowd not being what they consider something you could brag about, it may cause the Pac-12 to start doing a seeding where the teams that participate in the championship game, instead of using a neutral field, because they're mostly from major cities, let the home team host. At least you can have a sellout crowd. If it was in Utah or in Seattle, it would be a packed house. But in Santa Clara, it's going to be a sparse crowd. A lot of people looking forward to NFL football out here. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, it's what we've talked about before. When you talked about the Division I AA playoffs that was started, back in the late 70s, how they play at a home, the top-ranked team's home stadium, Charlton, which you're basically guaranteed a sellout when it comes to those things. And it's moved around the country, Charlton. The winning team moves on to the next best, record.
Yeah.
And so when you look at these teams, Charlton, and they're going to be in Levi Stadium, this is the same stadium that's going to host the national championship game, Charlton.
Yeah.
In about 6 weeks.
Yep.
That you're going to have standing room only at Levi Stadium.
Yeah.
When it comes down to the final game of the college season, Charlton, when we get through that tournament.
Yeah.
And when you talk about the Pac-12 title being held there, they held it there last year. Very sparse crowd. I think they may have had about 30,000 people there, Charles.
And that was USC and Stanford.
And so that's something that the Pac-12 really has to look at. And many other conferences need to look at, Charlton, is that you need to be on one of these home stadium sites, Charlton, to make it even good for the players.
Yeah.
It's that the players want to play in front of a crowd.
Yeah.
You don't feel good as a player when you look up, and even though it's a conference championship game, Charlton, and there's 12,000 people in the stands.
Yeah.
And when you normally have a home game at your home facility, at least you got 45 to 80 to 70,000
Yep.
people there, Charlton.
Yep, I agree.
But you got to go to one of these neutral sites, and the fans know that you're not competing at a bowl game, Charlton.
Yeah, that's
You know,
true.
the winner of that game will most likely go to the Rose Bowl.
Yeah,
Now, the Rose Bowl will have 90 to 100,000 people in it.
yeah,
And they'll play a Big Ten title team, Charlton.
yeah,
But to go there and play for the conference title, and that's what I mean by winning your conference and then having this extra game, that really is for what? You know, you're trying to get money out of it.
money, yeah.
But the players don't make a dime.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Big C. You know, I had an experience today. Somebody had called me about getting in business with her, and she basically said, "If you can't get in business with me, then I don't need your friendship." And I haven't even responded. Like, that's fine with me. I think a lot of the bowl games are that way. If they can't get money out of you, they have nothing to do with you. They're not going to pay these kids. At least give the kids an experience of playing in front of a large crowd. Wolfman Jack, when he would go out and do, you know, events, Big C, people showed up because they loved the sound of his voice. Wolfman Jack, I think it kind of sounds sexy. Is it sexy or raspy, Big C? Which one is it, Big C? Big C.
Well, it's that raspy, smoky voice, Charlton. It's almost like you've been in a barn fire and you can't breathe and stuff, and you're trying to catch your breath.
I understand, Big C. So tonight, again, good luck, Pac-12. I don't think it's a good look when you don't have a sold-out crowd in a new stadium to represent your championship team. On Saturday, the matchup, number 5, Oklahoma, 11-1. Number 9, Texas, 9-3. In Arlington, Texas, 12 o'clock kickoff. Oklahoma's favored by 8. But Oklahoma lost the first game. It's hard to beat the same team twice in one season, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, you know, they lost the first game by 3 points in that Red River shootout,
yeah.
Charlton, that they have every year.
Yeah.
I mean, Kyler Murray did all he can. I mean, this Oklahoma team, Charlton, across the board has been the most exciting team to watch in college football.
Yeah.
I mean, if they could play some defense, which is what they're going to need to do, Charlton, to move on any further past this game. But Kyler Murray is the most electrifying player that I've seen all year. I mean, Tua is tremendous at Alabama. But he's playing with a team, Charlton, that's been in front all year long. I think they might have trailed once all season long.
And that was the Citadel.
And that was the opening series against Mississippi.
Okay.
Mississippi scored on the first play of the game.
That's right.
That's the only time Alabama's been down.
Yep.
So a team is having to play with adversity. You know, Kyler Murray's done that all year long with Oklahoma. You know, he wasn't outdueled by Ellinger in that first game for Texas.
No.
You know, his defense just couldn't uphold the end of the bargain. I mean, he came back from 3 touchdowns and took the lead, and the defense still gave up the winning score of the game.
Yeah.
They're not even motivated. I think they just like watching him play his defense, and they forget about what their assignments are.
Yeah.
But you know, this is a tremendous opportunity for Oklahoma to revenge that loss. And if they revenge that loss, Charlton, by more than that 8-point spread, will it be enough to get them into the playoffs, into that 14 playoffs? Because they're sitting at number 5, and we know that Georgia and Alabama is going to have a loser.
Yeah, that's very true, Big C. Louisiana Lafayette 7-5 at Appalachian State 9-2. ESPN 12 o'clock kickoff. Appalachian State's by 16. UAB University of Alabama Birmingham 9-3 at Middle Tennessee. 8-4. That's a 1:30 kickoff on CBS Sports Network. Middle Tennessee is favored by 1 point in that game, Big C. Now Memphis is 8-4. Number 7 Central Florida is 11-0. I think this is one of the biggest hijacks in college football. You haven't lost a game in 2 years. It's a 3:30 kickoff, ABC Sports. Central Florida is favored by 3. I know they don't have their quarterback. And I wonder how many quarterbacks could, you know, Jamil Holloway came in and replaced Troy Aikman. Oklahoma went on and won the national title back in the 80s, Big C. If you don't have the quarterback that got hurt for Central Florida, and they went out, I think it's egregious to have back-to-back 24-game win streak, and you don't even get consideration because of what? They're not a traditional power. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I mean, Mackenzie Milton broke his leg, and it's great to see with the great medical help that they have now for college athletes that it wasn't any more devastating than it was, Charlton,
Right.
because years ago, he would have lost his leg.
Wow.
He had the same type of injury that Zach Miller, the tight end for the Chicago Bears, had last year against the New Orleans Saints,
Yeah.
where he ruptured the artery in the back of his leg, Charlton, and they had to perform emergency surgery and do a transplant from the other leg of an artery to get the blood flow back. And I'm thankful for the doctors to be able to do that, and the young man should have a great recovery, Charlton. Who knows if he'll ever come back to a 100% or even ever have a chance to play any type of football again. But when you look at Central Florida, they're going to be playing a true freshman in this game, Charlton, at quarterback.
Yeah.
And we've seen that before, where a guy that has been on the bench basically all season has come in and sparked the team. Cardell Jones with the Ohio State Buckeyes propelled them to a national champ, actually dominated Alabama in that game, Charlton, and Oklahoma en route to that national championship for the Ohio State Buckeyes. So it has been done, Charlton. The thing that we talk about consistently on this program, it's not the program, it's the size of the program.
Yeah.
That's what they look at about when they named it the Power 5 conferences, Charlton. But when you look at the Power 5 conferences, Charlton, which conference has been the least representative of the Power 5?
Yeah.
That every year, they've only had a team in there once in this playoff carousel. Only Washington has made it from the Power 5 to this playoffs, Charlton, on the West Coast.
Well, Washington and Oregon, those two things, Washington and Oregon.
That's right, Oregon got in there once.
Yeah.
But when you look at that, it took perfect records by those teams to get there, basically, Charlton.
That's right.
But when you look at the totality, they've only been in there twice.
Yep.
Twice. The Pac-12 has been represented twice. The other conferences, Charlton, have been represented every year, basically.
Well, you were talking about the scheduling. I think the Pac-12, they all have to play each other, so you get familiar with your opponent. And when USC was playing Notre Dame, I think Alabama was playing the Citadel, and Georgia played UMass. I think Lynn Swan's going to change that scheduling conflict. The Pac-12 has to get together and say, look, we got 12 teams. Play 6 teams guaranteed, and maybe 2 from the South or 2 from the North. Have 8 teams regular, and go out and schedule some AA teams, 1 AA teams. That's the only way they're going to get in, Big C. Speaking of Alabama, number 1 Alabama, 12-0, versus number 4 Georgia, 11-1 in Atlanta. That's the ABC Sports, 4 p.m. kickoff. Bama's favored by 13. I know they're favored by 13, but I don't see a half on there, so I think it's a solid 13. If I saw it 13.5, I'd say they win by 12. Basically, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I had a conversation today with 2 guys that are quite familiar with the SEC, and that's Marcus Spears and Tim Tebow.
Yes.
Talking with those 2 guys this morning about this game and getting their take on the game. And what they look at, Charlton, is that Georgia is a better team than what they were last year at this time. Jacob Fromm has become a much better quarterback. But also Alabama is a completely different team than what they were at this time because they come into this game, Charlton, as a passing team. Yeah. Last year, Charlton, they went into this contest for the national title as a running team. Yep. And then we'll figure out where we can throw the ball. You look at the game last year when they opened up the national championship. Jacob Fromm threw the ball 7 consecutive plays to start up the game. Had Alabama on their heels, Charlton. But they had something different last year, Charlton. They had Sonny Michel and Nick Chubb in the backfield. Right. Those guys are not gone. They got Swift and Holyfield now. But they got a great secondary in Georgia. Now, you go back to that LSU game. That was the best defense Alabama had seen all year long. That's right. How many points did Alabama score? They shut out LSU. 29-0. But how many points did they score? They didn't get to 30, Charlton. In that game. They're going to see a quite similar defense this week in Georgia that they saw against LSU. They're going to see athletes that look like the athletes that they have, Charlton. Right. That can run and hit and that are not intimidated. That's going to be the biggest difference. I think, though, in this game, Charlton, they talk about a 13.5 point spread. I think Georgia has to score between 34 and 38 points to win this game. I honestly do. Yeah. Because Alabama will find ways to put points on the board. Tua will, he will make a play. He will run around, Charlton. He will find a receiver. And what Alabama has this year that they didn't have last year, Charlton, is that they have 3 outstanding receivers. Last year they had 1. This year they have 3.
Yeah.
That makes a world of difference. And they probably also got the best defensive player in Quentin Nelson, defensive lineman, in college football. We always talk about quarterbacks, Charlton.
Yeah.
But Quentin Nelson can be a nightmare for Georgia in this game.
Well,
big defensive tackle, number 92.
It should be an amazing game, Big C. Number 2, Clemson, 12-0 versus Pitt, 7-5, Charlotte, North Carolina. 8 o'clock kickoff, ABC Sports. Clemson favored by 27. Why even have a team that's 7-5 representing your championship game? What if they win? How bad would that look for the ACC, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, this is what we talked about over in the program, Charlton. How rewarding is it that you go undefeated for 12 games, and then you got to go play a team in the conference championship game, Charlton, that's not a double-digit win team, Charlton,
No.
but a team that only won 7 games.
Yeah.
How egregious is that for the guys that are undefeated?
Yep.
To go out there and you have to play not only to stay healthy, Charlton, but to win the game.
Yeah.
Because you got a team, a non-worthy opponent. And Grant, I'm not knocking Pittsburgh's players.
Right.
But I'm saying as far as a championship game, a non-worthy opponent, normally when you have a championship game, Charlton, it should be the best 2 teams in your conference playing.
Yep, I agree.
And you're not getting that. You're saying, well, they won this half of the conference. You won that half of the conference. So you're going to come together. Even though you had, if you look at the ACC, Charlton, you had 2 teams with better records than Pittsburgh that are not playing in this conference championship game.
Yeah, and that's a joke to have that, Big C. This is again, number 5 Ohio State, 11-1. That Purdue loss looks really big though right now. Number 21 Northwestern, they're 8-4. That game's at Indianapolis, 8 o'clock kickoff on Fox Sports. Ohio State favored by 14. I mean, Northwestern, 4 losses, Big C. If Ohio State wins, they got to win by 4 touchdowns to even have a shot at the number 4 spot. Just my opinion, Big C. Your thoughts?
They really do, Charlton. I mean, Ohio State needs to come out and score 48 to 50, 55 points against Northwestern.
Yeah.
For, the bowl committee to really look at them seriously. Northwestern, they're a team who's going to try to slow down the game, Charlton. Keep the ball out of Ohio State's hands.
Yeah.
And this is what we talk about. They're 7-4. I understand Ohio State just ran over Michigan last week. But Michigan is the second best team, Charlton, in the Big Ten.
They sure are.
They're 10-2. And they can't play for the conference championship. Just like if you go out to the Big 12, Charlton, where you have West Virginia, they're 10-2.
Yeah.
They can't play for the conference championship, Charlton.
No.
It's going to be Texas at 9-3. So this is what's wrong with these conference championships. You're saying you have an East Division or a West Division or a North Division and a South Division.
Yeah.
Charlton, if you're in a conference, you're in a conference. I always thought that. When you're in the conference, you're in the same conference. Because you only play the record that's given to you. And you can't be dividing these conferences to East and West.
Yeah, I agree.
It's just the best 2 teams in every conference should be playing.
Yeah.
Because how do you justify, just say, if this game with Ohio State and Michigan last week, both teams had been undefeated.
Yeah.
And Michigan had lost that game still.
Yeah.
They still wouldn't have made the playoffs in the conference championship playoff game, Charlton.
I agree.
You'd have had a team that was 12-0 and 11-1 and still couldn't have played each other in the following week.
Yep.
But in the Big 12, Charlton, that possibility almost came about with West Virginia and Oklahoma.
Yeah.
But think about this. West Virginia's not playing in the Big 12 championship game, but I think they beat Texas earlier this year, Charlton.
Yep, they sure did. And in Texas, Big C, we know how that happens now, that Texas Justice. Last game for college football, number 23, Fresno State, 10-2. Number 20, Boise State, also 10-2. 7:45 kickoff, ESPN. Boise State favored by 2.5. Fresno State is the only ranked team in California. They're the Mountain West Conference. They've made some effort to get into the Pac-10, Pac-12, but they kept saying, well, your market's too small. Bulldog Stadium's larger than Washington State. It's larger than Oregon State, and it holds 42,000. So it would not be the smallest stadium in the Pac-12, and they're number 5 media market in California. But they're the highest-ranked team in California. You have Stanford, UCLA, Cal, and you have San Diego State, and San Jose State also. It's only Fresno State representing the West Coast Big C. What chance do they have at Boise? They've always played them close over the years. Your thoughts?
Well, if this game's up in Boise, Charlton, I wouldn't give them much of a chance.
It's in Boise.
When I look at Rippon up there in Boise, he's one of the top 5 passers, total offense leaders in the country, Charlton.
Yeah.
You know, he's been a tremendous quarterback. He's the nephew of Mark Rippon, who won a Super Bowl with the Washington Redskins, Charlton.
Yeah.
But, you know, Boise has just dominated that conference, Charlton, for the past decade. Peterson, the coach at Washington, came from there, Charlton, and that program didn't slow down at all. And prior to Peterson, Dan Hawkins was the coach there.
Yeah.
So they built a legacy, a blueprint for success. You look at the players that they keep piping into the NFL. You know, Tedford has done a wonderful job turning around that Fresno State program in his alma mater.
Yeah.
But I think playing up in the cold of Boise, Charlton, those California boys will be looking for the heaters quite often.
Yeah, I want to say sports is a billion-dollar industry. Boys and girls sports is the foundation to this billion-dollar industry. For every athletic and sporting event, you need athletic and event insurance. We work with Ben and Mark. They've been around half a century. They work with Big C Sports. Whether you're a pro team, a collegiate team, a high school team, or your mom and pop soccer league, when you reach out to them, let them know Big C sent you. And Johnny Cash special, we're doing Big C Sports Johnny Cash style tonight from the West Coast. The NFL Big C, big week ahead. Before we even get into it, Kareem Hunt, I mean, it's a shame. We talk about players and their behavior. Video surfaced today where he had assaulted a woman in a hotel. And I don't even know I want to get your thoughts, because it's easy to grandstand like the media is doing. What he did was egregious. I'm not making excuses for it. It's horrific. Josh Brown did that 20 times. And we didn't see the same type of media publicity. Josh Brown's white. Hunt's black. And I think about our media brethren. Is it more egregious when you hide something 20 times or when you show it one time, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, the Josh Brown scenario will never represent what African-American athletes have to deal with through the media. You're either loved or you hated, regardless of what you do. But, you know, any athlete, whether it's Josh Brown, Kareem Hunt, Reuben Foster, Charlton, Ray Rice, we can go over the decades, and there's been many more, Charlton, that's never been publicized.
Yep.
But to have these guys not having respect for themselves or the women that you deal with, it doesn't make a difference about the upbringing that you have, wherever you came from, in whatever part of this country, Charlton. It's about the values you have as a person.
Yeah.
And if you don't respect yourself or your livelihood enough, Charlton, to think that this is not an unacceptable act, you have to look at the athletes that we don't hear these things about, Charlton.
Yep.
The ones that we do hear these things about make it hard for everybody else, because you're always looked at cross-eyed, basically, at that point.
Yep.
But you got to look at where you are as a Kareem Hunt and said, okay, what do I have to lose? What can a woman say to you that is so egregious to make you want to attack her? You know, I've always looked at, in situations I've been in when I was younger, Charlton,
yeah.
If I got into a situation and we were friends and everything was fine, if things got to the point where they weren't going to be good anymore, I walked in easily. I can walk out easily.
You sure can.
It was very easy to be out that door and be gone.
Yeah.
You don't have to come back. So when I see these athletes put themselves in these positions, Charlton, that's where they want to be. That's them. That's the real them coming out.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make any difference what race they are. It is the real them representing themselves. You know, fighters fight for a living.
Yeah.
They're paid to be violent all the time in the ring, whether it's boxing with Deontay Wilder and Fury on Saturday night,
yep.
or an MMA event, Charlton.
Yep.
That's what they're paid to do, is beat people up.
Yep.
But when you look at these athletes, Charlton, and they feel that it's acceptable that they can be violent towards a man or a woman, Charlton, when they're not at work, that's not acceptable.
I agree.
And if these guys want to do that, there's no cover for them, Charlton. I don't care what broadcast it is, whether it's us, whether it's ESPN, whether it's Fox, whether it's a national news broadcast, Charlton. If you're going to act like a criminal, then you got to expect to be treated like a criminal. You can't say, well, I lost my head. No, you just lost your damn job.
Lost his job. I agree.
That's what happened.
Thank you for saying that. If you really see it.
And that's what needs to be done.
Yeah.
You can't sit there and say, well, you know, the guy is one of the top guys in the league in his position. I don't care if you're black or white. The minute you hit a woman, you should be one of the top guys in your position in jail.
You know, it's
Period.
interesting. It's interesting. Colin Kaepernick can't get a job for standing up for social justice, which are also included in that is no assaulting women. He stood up for that. Can't find work. Kareem Hunt, I would fire his contract. I would stop saying the league can protect people from criminal prosecution. If somebody,
think about the NFL. Think about the NFL as a whole. You know, when you go back, anybody can Google this. How many players in the NFL have an arrest record for violence?
A lot.
There, Charles.
Yeah, a lot.
It's there.
Yeah.
We see it every year now building up. Is that the NFL, it needs to be stipulated in a contract. If you're arrested for domestic violence, Charlton,
banned from the league.
You're suspended for the rest of the year.
Yep.
Period.
I agree.
don't care what position you play.
Yeah.
You're arrested for domestic violence. You're suspended for the year. Don't have somebody come in and rescind the statement, okay, I'm not going to show up. I'm not going to continue to press charges. If you had the gall to call the police and there was evidence that allowed the police to arrest you, then you're suspended for the rest of the year. And people say, wow, you're saying too much. You know, you're saying the person is guilty. You're guilty of putting yourself in that damn position.
I agree.
That's what you're guilty of.
You're
a grown man that's making millions of dollars, and you feel that you got to fight somebody?
Crazy.
You go to work every day in a violent environment. Why act like that at home?
I agree. There's some big guys on the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm sure if you want to show how tough he was, he could pick on someone 100 pounds heavier than him. I would say fire the guy, get him off the team, let him face criminal prosecution. And for any man say, whoa, that's too difficult, have the idea if it happens to your daughter, what would you say to the guy that does that to your daughter? For any man that defends that garbage, what would you say to your daughter if some guy did that garbage to her? Big C, in the next 15 minutes, if my voice can do the Wolfman Jack for 15 minutes, Big C, the Ravens 6-5 at the Falcons 4-7. 1 o'clock kickoff Sunday, Eastern time on CBS Sports. Falcons are favored by 1.5, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, the best game in Atlanta probably will be on Saturday, okay?
Yeah.
Alabama and Georgia are playing.
I agree.
but you know, you got the Falcons coming in. You got the Ravens that are red hot when you think about it. Lamar Jackson's 2-0.
Yeah.
Everybody's on Lamar talking about, well, you can't keep running the ball.
Yes, you can.
Well, until they tackle him, he can't.
It's not that heavy.
You know, you run the ball until somebody tackles you.
I agree.
The only thing that I suggest to Jackson is, like, stop the run 2 yards sooner.
Yeah.
Just go down. Don't take the hit.
Yeah.
He's going to survive. He can throw the ball well enough.
I agree.
He's playing against a quarterback that's making $155 million, Matt Ryan.
Yeah.
He goes out and outduels Matt Ryan. Then what do people say? He outdueled the $125 million Derek Carr last week.
Yep.
Okay?
Sure did.
And won that game.
Yeah.
The week before that, Charlton, Andy Dalton, $100 million quarterback.
Yeah.
He outdueled him.
Yep.
So, what Lamar Jackson is doing is what we've seen with a lot of young quarterbacks, Charlton. He's utilizing his athleticism. And just like I said the other day, John Harbaugh's brother is Jim Harbaugh's brother.
Yep.
He had Colin Kaepernick. And when you look at the nuances of this Baltimore offense, you see a lot of Colin Kaepernick and Lamar Jackson.
I agree with you very much, Big C. Game number 2, Broncos 5-6 at the Bengals 5-6. 1 o'clock kickoff Sunday Eastern time. CBS Sports, the Broncos are favored by 5.5. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, look at what the Broncos have done in their last 2 games, so they knocked off the L.A. Chargers and the Pittsburgh Steelers. 2 teams that are bound for the playoffs. So every weekend is a playoff game for the Broncos. Anthony Lynn may have saved his job last week, Charlton, in that win over Pittsburgh.
I agree.
But the Chargers, just like other teams in the NFL, you get off to a sluggish start, but you get on a run, Charlton, you win 5-6 games late in the season, you can make the playoffs.
That's a good point. Basically, game number 3, the Rams 10-1 at the Lions 4-7. 1 o'clock kickoff Eastern time Sunday. Fox Sports, the Rams are actually favored over the Lions by 10. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, the Rams now, Charlton, are the top seed in the NFC with that Saints loss last night in Dallas.
Yeah.
Can they hold on to that? We know that Matthew Stafford, the most overrated quarterback in the NFL, will be playing. Now, he's you can call him instead of Stafford, not Stats. I mean, because that's what he should just change his name to Stats. Because he has a lot of stats, Charlton. And, they talk about all these come-from behind wins he had. I don't know if anybody ever classified what a come-from-behind win is.
Right.
That means you've been behind. Okay? You're not playing from the front.
Yeah.
So how many wins has he had? I mean, how many games that he hasn't come from behind, Charlton, and won.
That's a very good point.
So that means he has a losing record in his NFL career. So this is a game that the Rams should handle business. A lot of pressure right up the middle on the quarterback from the defensive point.
Speaking of pressure, last night in Dallas, I think the defense is back. They're so legit, 13-10 over New Orleans. What I saw in Dallas, their linebackers actually run to finish the play. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, they have, Jonathan. They've gotten a breath of fresh air down there in Dallas. Is that this team has come together through some moves. The defense has always been solid in Dallas. It's just a matter of getting the offense up to speed. I mean, they only put 13 points on the scoreboard last night. I don't know if you'll ever see New Orleans play as bad a game. You have to question some of the play calling last night with Sean Payton, from the New Orleans offense, because there was a situation, especially when they were down at the goal line, he didn't put in Taysom Hill.
I know.
Then he left Drew Brees in at quarterback, where they had the RPO option. He took that out of the equation, and on several occasions. And you've never seen the New Orleans Saints drop as many balls, but the Dallas Cowboys solidified themselves, Jonathan, in first place in the NFC East.
And if
which is, at this point, if they win that division, what are people going to say about Philadelphia and their Super Bowl hangover?
Amen to that, Big C. The Cardinals 2-9 at the Packers 4-6-1. 1 o'clock kickoff Eastern Time Sunday on Fox Sports. The Packers are favored by 14 points over the Cardinals. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, based on what the odd makers are saying, Charlton, is that Aaron Rodgers shouldn't need the ball in the last 2 minutes of the game. Okay? That he should be able to go out in the first 58 and throttle the Cardinals. We haven't seen much from Josh Rosen all year long. People are going to question Brian Leftwich as the offensive coordinator, even though he did not start out the season there, Charlton. But Josh Rosen needs to pick up his performance as a rookie quarterback.
That's a good call, Big C. The Bills 4-7 at the Dolphins 5-6. 1 o'clock kickoff Sunday, CBS Sports. Dolphins favored by 4.5 over the Bills. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Ryan Tannehill's going to be in the backfield, Charlton, for the Dolphins. We saw Josh Allen pull out a big win last week for Buffalo. This is one of those toss-up games, Charlton, of two teams, especially Miami, that's very disappointing this season compared to where they were last year. You didn't expect much from the Bills, Charlton, because they were playing inexperienced quarterback. I think they're a better offense with Matt Barkley playing, but they say Josh Allen is their future.
That's crazy they say that, but we know what they say, Big C. The Bears 8-3 at the Giants 3-8. 1 o'clock kickoff Eastern Time Sunday on Fox Sports. And there's no line of this game, but the Bears defense should give them a win. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, there's no line on this game, Charlton, because Mitch Trubisky is not playing. When you look at what the Giants did last week offensively, they were very productive. But also, when you look at the Bears and that great defense they have, Chase Daniels is going to be the quarterback for the second consecutive week for the Lions, Charlton. He pulled out the game last week in Detroit. I see him having quite similar success against the Giants, Charlton. The thing about it, he's a quality veteran backup quarterback, and he can still sling the ball up and down the field. The Giants, their team right now in limbo. Do we play to try to win games because we can't make the playoffs, or do we go out there and solidify ourselves for a high draft pick just in case Dwayne Haskins out of Ohio State declares for the draft, Charlton? He would be their pick at quarterback. He'd be the first quarterback taken, and he's from New Jersey.
Very good point. In the next 10 minutes, Big C, the Panthers 6-5 at the Buccaneers 4-7. 1 o'clock kickoff Sunday on Fox Sports. The Panthers are favored by 3.5. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, they've lost their last 3 consecutive games. And if you can't get healthy against Tampa Bay, but you got to worry about Tampa Bay's offense.
They can score.
They can throw the ball, Charlton. They got a great core of receivers. And Ron Rivera likes to gamble just a little bit too much in Carolina. And Cam Newton, he needs to utilize his legs in this game, Charlton. I mean, he's throwing the ball better than he has at any point in his career, but he stopped running the ball as much, Charlton. And I think that hurts their offense. That is, a lot of it is set up just based on his mobility.
That's a very good point. The Colts 6-5 at the Jaguars 3-8. 1 o'clock kickoff Sunday, CBS Sports. The Colts are favored by 5. Andrew Luck has 5 300-yard games this season. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when you look at the difference in the Colts and the difference in the Philadelphia Eagles, who did Carson Wentz have last year as his offensive coordinator? Frank Wright. And who does Andrew Luck have as his offensive coordinator now? Frank Wright. What's the difference in those two guys? As you say, Andrew Luck has had 3 consecutive 3-touchdown games. He's going to win comeback player of the year in the NFL, Charlton. And there's some people even talking about him in the MVP balloting. if the Colts get to the playoffs, Charlton, they're 6-5. If they go 7-5, Charlton, they're right on the doorsteps of making the playoffs.
Yep.
Frank Wright will get consideration as Coach of the Year. Andrew Luck will get some MVP consideration.
Very good point. The Browns 4-6-1 at the Texans 8-3. 1 o'clock kickoff Sunday, CBS Sports. Texans are favored by 6. 2 mobile quarterbacks. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, the kid, can we say, what's the kid in Cleveland?
Mayfield. Mayfield.
Mayfield. Baker Mayfield.
Yes.
Let me introduce him to the Houston defense, Charles. Okay?
Yeah.
Let's go that direction with him.
Yeah.
Because he hasn't seen a defense that's as relentless as this Houston Texan defense, Charles, and they will come after.
Yeah.
Okay? He got a chance to shoot off his mouth last week at Hugh Jackson.
Yep.
But Houston's won 8 consecutive games, Charlton, and it's no fluke. Deshaun Watson's an outstanding quarterback, Charlton. And I don't see him slowing down against this Houston defense, but I see this defense doing some things in Houston to rattle Baker Mayfield, Charlton.
Good point, Big C. The Jets 3-8 at the Titans 5-6. That game is Sunday, 4:05 kickoff on CBS Sports. The Titans are favored by 8. The Jets are averaging just about 12 points a game in their last 2 games, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, when you look at the Titans, they basically become a mystery team, Charlton.
Yeah.
Here's a team that can play tremendous defense. The following week, Charlton, they're playing outstanding offense, but they haven't put it together over the last 6 weeks. They're either doing one or the other, Charlton. Marcus Mariota, when we look at the performance he had last week, Charlton, I believe he was 22 or 23 in that game.
Yeah.
An outstanding passer. But, he has to, like Cam Newton, I see a lot of similarities in between those two players, Charlton, and they played each other for a national championship when Auburn won. But I see right now with both of those quarterbacks what they lack a sense of urgency.
Yeah.
Marcus Mariota is a better quarterback when he's running a 2-minute offense. And I see that's one of the problems that Mike Vrabel has with his offense in Tennessee, is that he's not running his offense with a sense of urgency. The Jets, all they're trying to do is get Todd Bowles fired.
Yeah, seems to be that case, Big C. The Chiefs, 9-2 at the Raiders, 2-9. 4:05 kickoff Eastern Time Sunday, CBS Sports. Chiefs are favored by 15.5. We know the Hunt issue, Big C. If this is another blowout win, hopefully, for the Chiefs. But I don't know if there's going to be any kind of holdback because of what happened with Hunt, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Collins can play running back. I mean, it's Ward.
Yeah.
Ward is a backup running back if Hunt doesn't play, Charlton.
Yeah.
But, if you look at this Kansas City offense, Charlton, it's not predicated on whether Hunt's successful or not. They have a great core receiver. He's just part of what they do well. Yeah, and when I look at this Raiders defense, Charlton, they couldn't stop Lamar Jackson last week in Baltimore.
No.
They're playing against a real quarterback this week.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think John Gruden said he didn't have any pass rushers. So, I mean, if you're a coach and you don't have any pass rushers and you're playing against one of the best arms in the league, Charlton, and receiving cores, that means you need to teach some guys how to backpedal. If you can't teach them how to pass rush, maybe you need to teach some guys how to backpedal.
That's a good point, Big C. Last couple of games, the Vikings 6-1 at the Patriots 8-3. 4:25 kickoff Eastern Time on Fox Sports. And the Patriots are favored by 6, Big C, over your cousin. Your thoughts?
Well, your cousin down there in Minnesota, Charlton, needs to have this game to get the Vikings into the playoffs. They're trailing the Bears, Charlton, and they can't afford to lose any distance between them and the Bears. The Bears are 8-3 and 2 games ahead of them, Charlton. So they desperately need this game against the Patriots. But this will also show you, Charlton, if the Vikings are truly a playoff caliber team. If they can beat New England, who had some success last week when they got, Michelle back at running back, and Gronkowski scored a tight end, which he hadn't done probably in 2 or 3 years, to get that offense kick-started. So if New England can keep the momentum they had last week against the Jets, and, the Vikings might be a long day, Charlton.
Big C, 3 more games. 49ers 2-9 at the Seahawks 6-5. That used to be one of the best games of the week. At 4:25 p.m. kickoff Eastern Time Sunday on Fox Sports. And the Seahawks are favored by 10. Here's a team that can go to 7-5 with a win against their nemesis, the 49ers. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, it seems so long ago that these teams played in back-to-back NFC championship matches, Charlton.
Yeah.
But the Seahawks kept their quarterback. 49ers didn't feel that they should.
Yep.
And Russell Wilson has rewarded them, Charlton. Even though the team had been disbanded from those great, memorable matchups that those two teams had,
yep.
Russell Wilson stayed intact. San Francisco didn't feel that same need, Charlton, to keep a nucleus of a team there.
Yep.
And so we see the direction that these two programs have gone in. Seattle's on the verge of making the playoffs.
Again, yeah.
San Francisco's on the verge of making a high draft pick.
That sounds good. 2 more games. The Chargers 8-3 at the Steelers 7-3-1. An 8:20 p.m. kickoff Eastern Time Sunday. NBC Sports. The Steelers are favored by 3.5. Can Big Ben avoid the turnover bug? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, is Ben going to blast his receivers, Charlton? Because he throws interception and they weren't where the defensive tackle was.
Right, right.
That's the thing. How will his teammates respond to Ben's criticism? You look at early in the season when the Steelers were criticizing Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah.
Now Ben is criticizing his teammates because he's throwing interceptions.
Yeah.
And he said, well, I'm a captain, so I'm allowed to criticize. No, you're a teammate. You might be a captain, but you're a teammate. You were voted in that position by your team.
Yep.
But your team can unvote you from being captain also.
Just as easy.
So when Ben is throwing interceptions and blaming teammates, Charlton, you got to look at Ben. Ben is the guy that's not making it happen because guys are running wide open. He's just not getting the ball to him.
That's a very good point. Last game, Big C, the Redskins 6-5 at the Eagles 5-6. That's the 8:15 kickoff Eastern Time Monday. ESPN. Eagles are favored by 6 at Washington. I don't know if that's fool's goals, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, the Eagles desperately need this win, Charlton, in Washington to stay in the playoff hunt. Because if they fall in this game, Charlton, that means they're 2 games behind Dallas in the East with 2 games left to play.
Yeah.
That leaves them basically on the outside looking at, 4 games left to play with the outside looking in.
Yep.
Washington, with Colt McCoy, can get the job done. The Eagles are not that team that people fear any longer.
Right.
And Colt McCoy is playing for a contract.
Yep.
One of the best positions in the NFL, Charlton, is being that backup because nobody worries about you.
Yep.
But Colt McCoy proved that he has the ability to still play at that professional level.
He sure does, Big C. We know it's all fair Friday Night Lights. It's all fair in love and war. Wanted to honor the great Wolfman Jack today because he got me, as a little boy, got my mind open to the world of broadcast. In fact, Wolfman Jack has broadcast all over the universe. And you can find it, too, when you follow Big C Sports. In the honor of Wolfman Jack, that's why my voice is raspy today. Big C, back in the day, there was a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young man, rumble. Big C, what are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Well, Charlton, I'm looking for the menagerie of the Saturday championships in college football and wondering which one of those top teams will fall. And when they fall, Charlton, what will happen with the selection committee? Will they be justified in the decisions that they make as far as putting somebody in and taking somebody out?
Big C is always fair in love and war. We ask everyone, please be safe on this last day of November. Come into December with a great hope for a prosperous new year, Big C. I want to say every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide, follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And them good old boys down south, as we always tell you, there's never, ever any excuse for domestic violence, Mr. Hunt. No matter what you're going through, if anyone's going through that garbage, please call 911. Because no one should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. And as we always tell you, on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.